Welcome to the DraftKings Pick6 series with Josh and Nate, continuing on as we look with a deep dive into the DraftKings Pick6 platform, which is available obviously now with DraftKings. Really nice options here. Hopefully you caught a few of the other videos where we showed you exactly how to sign up for an account, how to play this game, and what it is exactly. We also went into some broad strategy and understanding how you get payouts, when you get paid out, etc. So we're going to be moving on into some more sport-specific stuff here. Looking at the NBA first, we're also going to have the NFL for you, and looking at specific strategies by sport to help you when you're looking at those two main ones here. So Nate, let's go ahead and kick it off with the NBA and get into the first item that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, we go over some of the more general strategy things in those other videos, including how many picks to put in your pick set based on confidence, etc. But yeah, we're going to really look at the strategy for NBA, which is really just how you pick NBA player props in general, right? It's that whether you pick a winner or a loser is really how you win this game. Everything else thrown aside. So, I mean, kind of think about how we pick our NBA player props in these daily videos. And first thing is search for a player. I mean, first find a lean and search for a player to identify some value with the line. Thelines.com has that nice player prop tool where you can find out where there is value, where there's discrepancy in the number, and help you identify that. It also shows over the course of the day at times, if these lines move, it shows what the public is thinking, where there might be an inefficiency with the line. Now, that doesn't happen as often in the NBA. It's more about where you feel there's an inefficiency, and that's where it comes to like thinking about regression to the mean as the biggest kind of overlaying thing for NBA is that when a guy scores 30 plus 4 games in a row, like we don't just keep hitting that. We don't just look at the game log and think, well, that's going to continue to happen. It's like there's always an adjustment coming. There's always a colder night coming. Vice versa, when a guy, has failed to clear 20 points against one specific team, like Giannis against, Houston, perhaps, it might be time to take him. It's just, you got to identify the spots where to buy low, where to sell high. In general, for most places, that's usually a good way to bet it. That's not saying you have to fade the trend every time, right? I mean, But that's why you always look at these props tools. Josh uses a few that show over the course of the entire season. How often does this guy get that? Kind of zooming out as much as possible to figure out where that mean is that you're going to eventually regress to.
Totally. Yeah. And a simple way of thinking about it is if Giannis Antetokounmpo averages 29 points a game on the season, he's averaged about 29 per game for like 3 different seasons. And that's about where his career average is. Well, if he's just gone over that number 4 games in a row and hit 38 and 37 and 42 and 33 points in a 4-game sample, well, at some point we know he's going to end the season at 29 points. That's about what we can project him to end the season on. So he's got to come back down to under that number if the average is going to go from that 4-game sample back to what the season is. So it's taking as big a sample size as you can for sure. And as far as recent results go, not just using those, and in fact, at times, fading them in the right spots, which I think we both love to fade recent results a bit more than just continue to ride the coattails of a guy who's hot. Unless that man's DeMar DeRozan in like 2022, and then we just ride him till the wheels fall off. But the next thing here with the injury report, Nate, obviously is injury. With this is the injury report. This is going to be so important for the NBA at all times. And obviously knowing who's playing in any sport while betting is crucial. But we all also know that the NBA is a little bit more chaotic when it comes to who's going to be out and in than these other games are, than other sports such as the NFL, where you have 6 days to figure out if someone's going to be in or out based on the injury report. So always check the injury report. That's going to be huge here. But I want to take it a step further than just going, well, know who's going to play, who's not going to play. Look at the injury report in the morning, see who's questionable or not likely to play and hasn't yet been ruled out, and then make a plan for yourself. Who would make sense as a guy that's going to come in when this guy goes out and step up and do more, or perhaps someone on the starting lineup is going to step up and do more who's already in there. So you want to consider who you are able to bet on if someone is out when you see these injury reports. But first and foremost, just know who's playing, which can be tough in the NBA, but there's plenty of tools to make sure you're getting that information.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be something obvious on the injury report. Like we've seen a lot of back-to-back situations. You have no idea who might play because the injury report's not going to be up until later in the day. But the thing with Pick6 is they put up lines and then they're locked, right? So if you have an inkling, like you got to look at recent results, look at the recent results in terms of how often they rest a guy, and then maybe he might not be able to go on that night. So like Karl Anthony Towns, for example, with the Knicks, he sat out on Friday. Maybe he doesn't play on the second leg of a back-to-back because they're playing the lowly Wizards. And so maybe, you go with more Brunson props because you think, well, if Cat's out, he's going to have to pick up the load. Maybe Josh Hart rebounds because I just have an inkling. And even if he doesn't sit, like I'm following that injury pattern to say he might have a lower workload, right? At the same time, we often talk about stars out, bets up when it comes to taking sides. And that can be a strategy at times with Pick6, and with picking props, because it's not necessarily a 1-to-1. Like, I mean, it can be like a backup point guard comes in. Of course, they're going to have a huge expansion of minutes. Their production is going to ramp way up. But there's a lot of more tangential connections that, like, if Josh Hart is out, does OG Anunoby see more usage and things that kind of go all around the roster, and sometimes things that are counterintuitive, which we like to talk about. Our favorite example is Tyrese Maxey sometimes producing more when Joel Embiid is in there. We talked about Jarrett McCain on today's show. Like, I don't really care if Embiid's in there because that just gives the defense more attention. That gives McCain more opportunities to operate in space. Yeah. Something I like to think about in the NFL as well is, if a star receiver is out on the other side, well, then the defense is just going to focus on that dude. So same thing applies in the NBA. Right. If you're the last man standing, sometimes it's not that easy to just pile up a bunch of points. But we can follow the minutes. And I think usually minutes do lead to bulk stat production.
The name of the game. And in the NBA, the name of the game is, are you out there and are you actually participating? And if you're not, then how could I possibly bet an over on you, right? And sometimes you can find plenty of value on guys that maybe they're in the starting lineup and their stats are such that they're, seems like they're going to play starter minutes. But in reality, this person starts and then only plays roughly 15, 17 minutes in an NBA game. See Yusuf Nurkic from just a couple nights ago for the Phoenix Suns. So knowing time in minutes it's the name of the game. So you can really make the projection for yourself and then compare it to the line that's available. One thing as well that would sort of be the next step in terms of after you're looking at who's playing and who's taking the shots and who's handling the ball and those types of numbers, volume numbers, if you will, then you want to know what the matchup is. Sometimes we talk about, looking at the career averages. Don't just look at recent numbers as what you're using to make your bets. Well, sometimes you might be able to find a reason that their career, they should supersede their career averages, right? So let's say Tyler Hero is at 21.5 points, and you look at his career numbers, it's 21.5. You look at this season, right at 21.5. It doesn't seem like you have much of an edge because this is, according to the averages, this is right about what he shoots. So I'm really taking a 50-50 bet if I bet either way on him. But maybe I know that in this matchup with the Philadelphia 76ers tonight, that when he plays the 76ers with Embiid out, he's averaged 28 points per game over a 7-game sample size in his career. Well, that might give me some reason to go, okay, so 21.5, although that's his normal number, it gets a bump here because in this context against this team, which has weak perimeter defense or what have you, then I know that, with Embiid out, then not only is their perimeter defense weak, their down low defense is weak, and Tyler Hero has more ways to score, getting to the free throw line, that type of thing. So you want to consider the matchup almost as much as you consider anything else. Obviously, at the end of the day, volume and minutes and injuries are so key. But after that, who are they playing? And what does that do for the expectations?
Yeah. And actually, Hero's a great example, if you can pull him up again, of what we were talking about before with the stars being back in. I think if Jimmy Butler's playing tonight, that's why we have 3 points of value on Tyler Hero from where it was with Jimmy Butler out. But if you look at his season average, Butler's only missed like 3 games and Hero has been up around above this number consistently. And so it's just knowing the context and of Jimmy Butler not necessarily being a high usage player in the first 2 months of the season or often when he doesn't care. And Tyler Hero just kind of making a leap with his offensive game for this Heat team and say, like, I have identified value there. That's 3 points off. That's the type of thing you see with Maxey at times when Embiid comes back in there. And then there's more context to consider, of course, when betting the NBA. Schedule is almost everything. Schedule is your starting point. when you can identify rest spots, rest advantages, spots where a team is going to get up for a game, have it circled, spots where a team is going to overlook a game because they have something else circled beyond that. These are the biggest like overall arching trends to think about in the NBA. And you have to apply that context to player props. It's something I've used for years as in terms of like trying to find those revenge spots in our player props things, the former team theory. It is a thing. I mean, some of the lines have caught up to these trends, of course, being like when Cat eventually plays the Wolves this year, right? I mean, maybe it goes up a little bit. And it goes the other way. You could fade him and saying, well, Rudy's going to be really charged up for this matchup for shutting down Cat. But that's exactly just the type of context that I'm talking about, where you have to think about the larger situation, like where the team is trending, how much rest they have, and where their motivation's at.
Yeah, and I will say this is an area where, conjecture be damned. If it's a guy's birthday, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit more willing to bet on. I mean, there's some human nature aspect to this, which is why would you be jazzed up to be in this game? Why would there be a little bit extra oomph in your step when you're playing in this game? Is it, are you from the city maybe, and you're going to have 20 family members in the stands? Information is key here. And it's not just statistical information. There's also just the context of the situation and the human aspect of all of it. And so that needs to be considered. And anybody who tells you that that's silly is just pretending they're playing with robots. These are humans. But at any rate, that's the time we have for you in the NBA strategy video. Also have that NFL one up, like I mentioned. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Might as well let you know we're bringing you NBA videos every day as well, in addition to the NFL player props that we bring you each week as well. So plenty to do here on the YouTube channel. Busiest time of year for us. Hope you got something out of the DK Pick 6 video. And until we see you next, happy betting.